Okay, let's get into this Amber Nicole Thurman. This is pretty sad. Let's get into it. Abortion bans have delayed emergency medical care in Georgia. Experts say this mother's death was preventable. Now, this is coming from ProPublica.org. ProPublica is a nonprofit newsroom that investigates abuses of power. So that's what ProPublica is. Abortion bans have delayed emergency medical care in Georgia. Experts say this mother's death was preventable. Amber Nicole Thurman. Rest in peace. I'm sorry. At just 28, your life was just cut short. And your birthday would have been yesterday. What's the day? The 18th or 2 days ago. I'm sorry. But let's begin. In her final hours, Amber Nicole Thurman suffered from a grave infection that her suburban Atlanta hospital was well equipped to treat. She'd taken abortion pills and encountered a rare complication. She had not expelled all of the fetal tissue from her body. She showed up at Piedmont Henry Hospital in need of a routine procedure to clear it from her uterus called a dilation and curettage, or D&C. But just that summer, her state made performing the procedure a felony, with few exceptions. Any doctor who violated the new Georgia law could be prosecuted and face up to a decade in prison. Thurman waited in pain in a hospital bed, worried about what would happen to her 6-year-old son as doctors monitored her infection spreading, her blood pressure sinking, and her organs beginning to fail. It took 20 hours for doctors to finally operate. By then, it was too late. The otherwise healthy 28-year-old medical assistant who had her sights set on nursing school should not have died, an official state committee recently concluded. Tasked with examining pregnancy-related deaths to improve maternal health, the experts, including 10 doctors, deemed hers as preventable and said the hospital's delay in performing the critical procedure had a large impact on her fatal outcome. Her reviews of individual patient cases are not made public, but ProPublica obtained reports that confirm that at least 2 women have already died after they could not access legal abortions and timely medical care in their state. There are almost certainly others. Committees like the one in Georgia set up in each state often operate with 2-year lag behind the cases they examine, meaning that experts are only now beginning to delve into deaths that took place after the Supreme Court overturned the federal right to abortion. Okay. Thurman's case marks the first time an abortion-related death officially deemed preventable is coming to public light. ProPublica will share the story of the second in the coming days. We are also exploring other deaths that have not yet been reviewed to appear to be connected to abortion bans. Dr. warned state legislators women would die if medical procedures sometimes needed to save lives became illegal. The Republican lawmakers who voted for state bans on abortion say the laws have exceptions to protect the life of the mother. Medical experts caution that the language is not rooted in science and ignores the fast-moving realities of medicine. The most restrictive state laws, experts predicted, would pit doctors' fears of prosecution against their patients' health needs, requiring providers to make sure their patient was inarguably on the brink of death or facing irreversible harm when they intervened with procedures like a D&C. They would feel the need to wait for a higher blood pressure, wait for higher fever, really got to justify this one. Bleed a little bit more. Dr. Melise Kotke, an OB-GYN in Emory, warned lawmakers in 2019 during one of the hearings over Georgia's ban. Doctors and the nurse involved in Thurman's care declined to explain their thinking and did not respond to questions from ProPublica. Communication staffs from the hospital did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Georgia's Department of Public Health, which oversees the state maternal mortality review committee, said it cannot comment on ProPublica's reporting because the committee's case are confidential and protected by federal law. The availability of D&Cs for both abortions and routine miscarriage care helped save lives after the 1973 Supreme Court ruling in Roe v. Wade. Studies show reducing the rate of maternal deaths for women of color by up to 40% the first year after abortion became legal. But since abortion was banned or restricted in 22 states over the past 2 years, women in serious danger have been turned away from emergency rooms and told that they need to be in more peril before doctors could help. Some have been forced to, okay, so let's kind of get into it. Because what happened? Like, what happened? We don't need all of this extra. Okay, here it is. Because they starting to go on a tangent here. What happened to the girl? Thurman wanted a surgical abortion close to home and held out hope as advocates tried to get the ban paused in court, Baker said. But as her pregnancy progressed to its 9th week, she couldn't wait any longer. She scheduled a D&C in North Carolina where abortion at that stage was still legal, and on August 13th, woke up at 4 a.m. to make the journey with her best friend. On their drive, they hit standstill traffic. Baker said the clinic couldn't hold Thurman's spot longer than 15 minutes. It was inundated with women from other states where bans had taken effect. Instead, a clinic employee offered Thurman a 2-pill abortion regimen approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Mifepristone. Okay, that's what it's called. A 2-pill abortion regimen approved by the U.S. Instead, a clinic employee offered Thurman a 2-pill abortion regimen approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, Mifepristone. And, oh Lord, another one. Misoprostol. Hold on. How do you pronounce it? Misoprostol. Okay, misoprostol. Okay, all right, there it is. Okay. Where oh Lord, where I go? Okay, here it is. Misoprostol. Okay. Okay. My jeez Louise. What is this called? Mifepristone and misoprostol. The evil twins. Her pregnancy was well within the standard for care for their treatment. Getting to the clinic had required scheduling a day off from work, finding a babysitter, making up an excuse to borrow a relative's car, and walking through a crowd of anti-abortion protesters. Thurman didn't want to reschedule, Baker said. At the clinic, Thurman sat through a counseling session in which she was told how to safely take the pills and instructed to go to the emergency room if complications developed. She signed a release saying she understood. She took the first pill there and insisted on driving home before any symptoms started, Baker said. She took the second pill the next day as directed. Deaths due to complications from abortion pills are extremely rare. Out of nearly 6 million women who've taken, mifepristone, I did it, in the U.S. since 2000, 32 deaths were reported to the FDA through 2022. Regardless of whether the drug played a role, of those, 11 patients developed sepsis. Most of the remaining cases involved intentional and accidental drug overdose, suicide, homicide, and ruptured ectopic pregnancies. All right. Baker and Thurman spoke every day. that week. At first, there was only cramping, which Thurman expected, but days after she took the second pill, the pain increased and blood was soaking through more than 1 pad per hour. Lord. If she had lived nearby, the clinic in North Carolina would have performed a DNC for free as soon as she followed up. The executive director told ProPublica, but Thurman was out 4 hours away. On the evening of August 8, Thurman vomited blood and passed out at home, according to 911 call logs. Her boyfriend called for an ambulance. Thurman arrived at Piedmont Henry Hospital in Stockbridge at 6:51 p.m. ProPublica obtained the summary narrative of Thurman's hospital stay provided to the Maternal Mortality Review Committee, as well as the group's findings. The narrative is based on Thurman's medical records, with identifying information removed. The committee does not interview doctors involved with the case or ask hospitals to respond to its findings. But why not? ProPublica also conducted with medical experts, including members of the committee, about the timeline of events. Within Thurman's first hours at the hospital, which says it is staffed at all hours with an OB who specializes in hospital care, it should have been clear that she was in danger, medical experts told ProPublica. Her lower abdomen was tender, according to the summary. Her white blood cell count was critically high, and her blood pressure perilously low. At one point, as Thurman got up to go to the bathroom, she fainted again and hit her head. Doctors noted a foul odor during a pelvic exam, and an ultrasound showed possible tissue in her uterus. The standard treatment of sepsis is to start antibiotics and immediately seek and remove the source of the infection. For a septic abortion, that would include removing any remaining tissue from the uterus. One of the hospital network's own practices describes a DNC as a fairly common minor surgical procedure to be used after a miscarriage to remove fetal tissue. After assessing her at 9:38 p.m., doctors started Thurman on antibiotics and an IV drip. The summary said, after assessing her at 9:38 p.m., doctors started Thurman on antibiotics and an IV drip, the summary said. The OB-GYN noted the possibility of doing a DNC the next day, but that didn't happen the following morning, even when an OB diagnosed acute severe sepsis. By 5:14 a.m., Thurman was breathing rapidly and at risk of bleeding out, according to her vital signs. Even 5 liters of IV fluid had not moved her blood pressure out of the danger zone. Doctors escalated the antibiotics. Instead of performing the newly criminalized procedure, they continued to gather information and dispense medicine, the summary shows. Doctors had Thurman tested for sexually transmitted diseases and pneumonia. They placed her on Levophed, a powerful blood pressure support that could do nothing to treat the infection and posed a new threat. The medication can constrict blood flow so much that patients could need an amputation once stabilized. At 6:45 a.m., Thurman's blood pressure continued to dip, and she was taken to the intensive care unit. At 7:14 a.m., doctors discussed initiating a DNC, but it still did not happen. 2 hours later, lab work indicated her organs were failing, according to experts who read her vital signs. At 12:05 p.m., more than 17 hours after Thurman had arrived, a doctor who specializes in intense care notified the OB-GYN that her condition was deteriorating. Thurman was finally taken to an operating room at 2 p.m. By then, the situation was so dire that doctors started with open abdominal surgery. They found that her bowel needed to be removed, but it was too risky to operate because not enough blood was flowing to that area. Jesus. A possible complication from the blood pressure medication. Because remember, they said it constricts the blood. It constricts the, what did they say? It constricts the blood vessels to the point where after you're off of that medication, you might need amputation. So I don't know why they would. Yeah, the medication can constrict blood flow so much that patients could need an amputation once stabilized. So they put her on medication that stabilize her blood pressure, which constricts her blood flow, or constricts her blood vessels, which lowers her blood flow, meaning that blood is not effectively circulating through her body. They open up her abdomen. They see that they tried to remove her bowels because of what again? they her bowels needed to be removed. They didn't say why, but they just said her bowels needed to be removed, but it was too risky to operate because level fed restricted the blood flow to her bowels as well. A possible complication from the blood pressure medication, an expert explained to ProPublica. The OB performed the DNC but immediately continued with the hysterectomy. Lord. During surgery, Thurman's heart stopped. Her mother was praying in the waiting room when one of the doctors approached. "Come walk with me," she said. Until she got the call from the hospital, her mother had no idea Thurman had been pregnant. She recalled her daughter's last words before she was wheeled into surgery. They had made no sense coming. They had made no sense coming from a vibrant young woman who seemed to have her whole life ahead of her. "Promise me you'll take care of my son." There is a good chance providing a DNC earlier could have prevented Amber Thurman's death, the Maternal Mortality Review Committee concluded. Now, after reviewing Thurman's case, the committee highlighted Piedmont's lack of policies, procedures in place to evacuate uterus immediately, and recommended all hospitals implement policies to treat a septic abortion on an ongoing basis. It is not clear from the records available why doctors waited to provide a DNC to Thurman, though the summary reports show they discussed the procedure at least twice in the hours before they finally did it. Okay, all right. Then how do we know that the doctors did not do it, or this case was due to abortion laws? All of these other news articles are saying that the hospital failed to act and perform a DNC because they will be held liable, right? But then it says it's not clear from the records. Let's go to another one. Wait, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let's continue this one out. Wait, but it's so much. In interviews with more than 36 OB-GYNs in states that outlawed abortions, ProPublica learned how difficult it is to interpret the vague and conflicting language in bans medical exceptions. Especially, the doctor said, when their judgment could be called into question under the threat of prison time. Take the language in Georgia's supposed life-saving exceptions. It prohibits doctors from using any instrument with the purpose of terminating a pregnancy. Okay, that's not true. While removing fetal tissue, it prohibits doctors from using any instrument with the purpose of terminating a pregnancy. While removing fetal tissue is not terminating a pregnancy, medically speaking, the law only specifies it not considered an abortion to remove a dead unborn child that resulted from a spontaneous abortion, defined as naturally occurring from a miscarriage or stillbirth. It prohibits doctors from using any instrument with the purpose of terminating pregnancy. While removing fetal tissue is not terminating a pregnancy, medically speaking, the law only specifies it's not considered an abortion to remove. The law only specifies it's not considered an abortion to remove a dead unborn child that resulted from a spontaneous abortion. That's not true. And I'm going to tell you why it's not true. Where is... Okay. This is clearly the Georgia. Okay, here it is. All right, here it is. The Georgia law. Georgia legislature passed the Living Infants Fairness and Equality Act, Life Act, in 2019, and Governor Brian Kemp signed it into law on May 17, 2019. The law provides that no abortion shall be performed if the unborn child has a detectable human heartbeat, except A, in the event of a medical emergency or medically futile pregnancy. See page 19. Let's scroll down to page 19 and see what a medical futile pregnancy means. Here it is. A medically futile pregnancy means that in reasonable medical judgment, an unborn child has a profound and irremediable congenital and chromosomal anomaly. Irremediable congenital or chromosomal anomaly that is incompatible with sustaining life after birth. Under the Life Act, medical emergency means a condition in which an abortion is necessary. Okay? Go back to it. I lost it. Necessary in order to prevent the death of the pregnant woman or the substantial and irreversible physical impairment of a major bodily function of the pregnant woman. So what is all of this? So you're telling me that if a woman is dying, she needs life-saving emergency and medical intervention, that she can't get an abortion? That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Because it says right here. Let me go back to it. Okay. In the event of a medical emergency, which is defined as if a woman was literally dying, or a medically futile pregnancy, which is also defined if the child is unviable after being birthed, because they have a congenital chromosomal anomaly, or in cases involving rape and incest, in which an official police report has been filed and where the probable gestational age of the unborn child is 20 weeks or less. Y'all, we being lied to. That's why you have to read. You have to read. You have to read. They did not say, so I don't understand. Let's walk through what happened. Right? Miss Thurman was 9 weeks pregnant, went to North Carolina to receive an abortion. The state of Georgia does ban abortions because you're recklessly having babies. Let's be real here. Miss Thurman was a bit irresponsible. If she did not want a child or another child, she should have done means to prevent that from happening. But that's neither here nor there. Well, it is here nor there because it costed her her life. If you don't want a baby, don't have a baby. It's just that simple. All of these apps on your phone that can track your pregnancy, that can track your cycle, that can track your luteal phases. If you don't want to be pregnant, you don't have to be pregnant. Be responsible and care for your health, your reproductive health. Miss Thurman was irresponsible. This irresponsibility resulted in her being pregnant, a pregnancy that she did not want. So she drives to North Carolina, 4 hours in traffic to North Carolina. Because she's 4 hours away, she dealt with traffic when she was at a standstill. It resulted in her being late, missing her appointment. She ended up going to get a pill that you take once when you are there, and then you take the second pill the next day. With these pills, they say that there is a likelihood that it does not remove all of the fetal tissue, right? It's a likelihood that it does not remove all of the fetal tissue. So that's what happens. All of the fetal tissue ended up not being removed from Miss Thurman's uterus, which then resulted in her body, in it to become an infection. When you have an infection, your white blood cells are elevated, and a couple of other things. Might I add, she was bleeding profusely, soaking up a whole pad in 1 hour. That's insane. So she clearly needed medical attention. She goes to the hospital. The OB-GYN says she's becoming septic because she has fetal remains in her uterus. A dilation and curettage need to be done. A DNC. According to the state of Georgia, let's go back to the law. According to the state of Georgia, the law provides that no abortion shall be performed if the unborn child has a detectable human heartbeat. She had already had the abortion, right? All but some of the fetal remains were left. Were gone. There were only some fetal remains left. Majority of the fetal remains were gone. There were some fetal remains left, meaning that there was no heartbeat, meaning that there was no baby. It also says it is not clear from the records available why doctors waited to provide a DNC to Thurman. So they didn't not provide the procedure. They did not give her the procedure because of laws and all that other stuff. It's unclear. We don't know why they waited. Maybe this is just an incompetent hospital. Maybe it is just a racist hospital. This is Georgia we're talking about. We don't know. So we can't sit and say they did not perform this procedure because of laws, abortion laws. That's my first point. My second point is this. There's an agenda against Christians. I was reading another article, right, by MSNBC. And the author is Sarah Posner, whatever this baby's name is. And look at the language that she uses in this article. If the Christian right had not had its way at the Supreme Court, she came out the gate strong, baby. We are sorry for Amber Thurman's death, her child, none of that. See, this is what I mean when you have people in the media who have their own demonic hate against Christian and Christ. Baby girl, she just skipped through all of the formalities. No, niggas can't even get a good morning. You went straight, if the Christian right had not had its way at the Supreme Court. Hold on. Let's first send our condolences to this baby's mom, this baby's child. She got a boyfriend. She got friends. She got family. Let's at least extend our condolences out to them first. But no, there's an agenda with Miss Sarah Posner or whatever her name is. Let's read. If the Christian right had not had its way at the Supreme Court, Amber Nicole Thurman would be alive today. She would have been able to get the medical care she needed in 2022. She would have lived to pursue her career ambitions and see her little boy grow up. Instead, the 28-year-old died completely avoidable death in a Georgia hospital because the doctors treating her were terrified of committing a felony under the state's abortion ban. Whoa, hold on, Sarah. Wait, Sarah. Wait, baby. It's unclear why they waited. We don't know why they waited. The true crime is that Thurman's life was cut short because of ideologues who for 50 years trumpeted biblical values as they sought to make women pay for unwanted pregnancies even with their lives. Sarah, a little spicy. The Life Act is what happens when single-minded religious zealots seize political power. You see the rhetoric? Like, do you hear you see the rhetoric? Like, the Christian right killed this woman. If the Christian right had not had its way, Amber Nicole Thurman would still be alive today. Her life was cut short because of biblical values who sought to make women pay for unwanted pregnancies, even with their lives. This is what happens when religious zealots seize political power. Like, you hear the linguistics and what she's saying? And this is why I always say Christians is the most hated group of people on this, like, in this country for sure. In this country, bar none. You mean to tell me that according to the medical documents, they said, we don't know why they wouldn't operate on this woman. The medical documents indicated uncertainty as to why they waited so long to operate on this woman. But then you have women like Sarah, whatever her name is, writing articles on notable news sites and media outlets such as MSNBC to impose their agenda and infiltrate the truth. Let's read on. A new report in ProPublica reveals the details of Thurman's excruciating final days and death, which a state medical committee recently deemed preventable. Thurman learned she was pregnant with twins in the summer of 2022. Mother to a young son, she was hoping to attend nursing school and quickly decided she needed to preserve her newfound stability. Her best friend, Rakaria Baker, told ProPublica. But 3 years earlier, Georgia Republican-controlled state legislature passed a law prohibiting abortion in 6 weeks. After the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade constitutional right to abortion in June 2022, the ban went into effect. Georgia became one of the first places to close the door on virtually all abortions, and many other GOP-run states soon followed. The law, with a dystopian title of Living Infants and Fairness Equality Act. How is that dystopian, Sarah? But I digress. With the dystopian title of Living Infants and Fairness Equality Act, or LIFE Act, does have a vague exception to protect the life of a mother. But most exceptions in these laws, reports if you can tell I'm reading them with a little bit of attitude, because Sarah, baby, she's spicy. She's spicy. What was this? 6 a.m. in the morning. Oh, Sarah is spicy. It's 6 in the morning. Sarah, did you even at least get your coffee this morning, Sarah? Did you drink some water? How about some tea? Girl, Sarah on one. Anyways, the law, with the dystopian title of Living Infants and Fairness Equality Act, or LIFE Act, does have a vague exception to protect the life of the mother. But most exceptions in these laws, reports the Guttmacher Institute. Guttmacher? How do you pronounce this? Oh, let me reject these cookies. Let's see. Guttmacher. Let's see Georgia. Georgia, 6 weeks. How do you pronounce this baby's name? Guttmacher. Okay, Guttmacher. I just got to make sure I'm looking all that getting an understanding. I just got to make sure that I'm saying this stuff right. Okay, let's get back to Spicy Sarah's little rant. But most exceptions in these laws, reports the Guttmacher Institute, a research organization supporting reproductive rights, are designed to be unworkable, containing vague and contradictory language and imposing cumbersome requirements. That language isn't vague. They clearly stated an abortion in their definition is the removal of a viable, healthy baby that has a heartbeat, not a baby that was already aborted, but parts of the fetal remains in the mom's uterus, because then it's not viable. It's not a baby because it's literally remains of once was a baby. And it doesn't even have a heartbeat because it's gone. Okay. When Georgia's ban went into effect, Thurman's pregnancy had just passed 6 weeks, according to ProPublica. Thurman scheduled a dilation and curettage in North Carolina, which still permitted abortion. Now, if she were to get a dilation and curettage in Georgia, the state of Georgia, after 6 weeks, because she was in her 9th week, and the babies, because no, it wasn't one, it were two, there were 2 babies, twins. That's sad because you know how many women pray for twins? Heck, I'm praying for twins. And you murder twins? Amanda, you should have just had them babies. And after you had them babies, you should have gotten you onto some birth control. You should have got an IUD or some pills or a shot or something. Jesus. According to ProPublica, Thurman scheduled a dilation and curettage in North Carolina, which still permitted abortion. But when traffic delayed her travels, the clinic, inundated with women from other states where bans had taken effect, could not keep her appointment slot. A clinic employee gave her legally obtained abortion pills to use instead. Her pregnancy was well within the standard of care for that treatment. Unfortunately, upon her return home, Thurman suffered a highly unusual complication with increasing pain and heavy bleeding. The North Carolina clinic would have performed a D&C as a free follow-up, but it was too far away. Instead, Thurman went to a nearby hospital, citing medical records. ProPublica says that doctors noted a foul odor during a pelvic exam, and an ultrasound showed possible tissue in her uterus. Usually, these signs of sepsis would be addressed with a D&C to remove the fetal tissue, but the Life Act prohibits administering any instrument with the purpose of terminating a pregnancy. But it's not a pregnancy because the pregnancy was already terminated. That made performing this normally commonplace and safe procedure a possible felony for doctors. Hospital staff delayed the procedure for nearly a day as Thurman's conditions worsened. Finally, hours after her organs began failing, she was taken in for surgery, during which she died. Her mother recalled her last words, "Promise you'll take care of my son." Oh, here it is. Trump knows that these kinds of stories, and Thurman's is far from the only one, are bad news for his campaign. It was not Thurman's legal use of abortion pills that caused her to die. But if you want to get technical, if she resides in the state of Georgia and she goes to North Carolina to get pills, and she then takes the pill the second, because that's a 2-day pill. She took that pill the second day while she was at home in Georgia. It's kind of illegal. It's almost like, me purchasing a gun from here, from Illinois. I live in Chicago, from Illinois. And then me traveling to a state that bans guns. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like that, But, okay, Sarah girl. It was not Thurman's legal use of abortion pills that caused her to die. Deaths stemming from the use of abortion pills are exceedingly rare. Out of nearly 6 million women who've taken, oh Lord, this word again. Me and this word not getting along. Mifepristone in the U.S. since 2000, 32 deaths were reported to the FDA through 2022. Regardless of whether the drug played a role, ProPublica reports, of those, 11 patients developed sepsis. The cause of Amber Thurman's death was the Republican-led criminalization of health care when she developed a condition that demanded immediate life-saving attention. The Life Act killed Amber Thurman. The Life Act is what happens when single-minded religious zealots seize political power. Anti-abortion activists claiming to have a more pure and literal interpretation of Christianity, there it is, than everyone else, and claiming to have a divine directive to make American law conform to it, insisted on this. They insisted on ending Roe v. Wade, chipping away at it for 5 decades until former President Donald Trump made their dream come true. He delivered on his promise of a right-wing Supreme Court majority. That majority, in turn, unleashed the sadistic laws that endangered the lives of women in dozens of states. Wait, that was a little spicy. He delivered on his promise of a right-wing Supreme Court majority. That majority, in turn, unleashed the sadistic laws that endangered the lives of women in dozens of states, restricting their rights to make their own decisions and get life-saving care. Okay, Sarah girl. Now, but Americans didn't ask for the issue to be brought back to the states so that Christian nationalist legislators could dictate the most intimate decision of our lives. Amber Thurman didn't ask for a lecture on life from her governor. She only wanted to live. That last part, I completely agree with you on, Sarah. That is a statement that we both can 100% agree. She only wanted to live. She only wanted to live. She was born in 93. I was born in 94. My husband was born in 93. We're all the same age. If it were, if I were in Georgia, or if she were in Chicago, we probably would have been going to the same school. We definitely would have been in the same grade. And we for certain would have been in the same class. And if not in the same class, I'm pretty sure we would have had a quick little passing in hallway, see each other. We might shared a bus stop and probably conversed over, teenage things like reading this stupid book for English class, or how ridiculous and unnecessary chemistry class is. Or if we were going to be going to the next school outing, or what our plans were for Friday evening after the basketball game. Like, it's things like that that kind of make you step back and see that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what political standpoint one may, have. It doesn't matter what belief or faith one may practice. A life is a life at the end of the day. She has a son. I have a kid. I got a daughter. It pains me to think what her life could be, or maybe, if I weren't there. People always talk about how no parent should bury their child. But although our time does come where the child buries the parent, at least that child has decades of experience with that parent. That parent got them ready for their first junior prom. Talked about the date life and dating and boys and girls and all that other stuff. Taught them the importance of hygiene. Gave them an understanding as to what it means to venture off into high school and, how to wisely navigate your pubescent years. Packed them up, sent them to college, dropped them off at the gates of whatever university they decided to spend the next 4 years of their academic life and experience in. Gave them a prep talk of, okay, now, if you drink too much, just call me. Or never get behind the wheel of a car and you're not sober. Amber's 5-year-old son will never experience that. Amber's 5-year-old son will never experience his mom gazing upon the face of her grandchild. Will never even know what his wife may look like. May never experience a wedding of her children. Will never even experience having other children. I think, Sarah, what we need to do is we need to take our political views out of it and look at this situation as there's a life that was taken. And there's enough blame to go around for everybody, right? We can blame Amber for not taking the necessary steps and being responsible with her own reproductive health to make sure that she did access contraceptives the way that she needed, given that she's sexually active. Clearly she is if she got pregnant with twins. There's blame on Amber. She should have been more responsible. There's also blame on the doctors. But just completely blame legislation and make unfair claims based on limited facts, such as these doctors failed to act because of the Life Act in Georgia. That's not true, Sarah. Because I'm a Christian. Am I for abortion? Absolutely not. But what I am for is life. And 3 lives were lost. Those twins, those twin babies, and Amber. But what we can do is we can't just shine the light on Amber's life that's been lost, because there are 3 people who are involved in this situation. What about those babies? I just really pray the strength of every Christian in this nation. It is going to come a time where we are going to be looked at as a hate group. And it's happening. These white evangelicals, I really wish they would stop it, because they're actually making everything worse. In closing, we need to separate church and state. Biblically, the church has always been separate from government. If it weren't so, then why in the book of Acts, all of the church members put everything together and they built their own community? We need to separate church and state. 1. 2, let's kind of take our own political agendas and beliefs and faiths out of certain situations. And let's just deal with what the facts are. Let's just lay all the facts out on the table and just deal with them accordingly. And 3, let's all remember the lives of Amber Thurman and those twin babies. And when we talk about this issue, let's talk about this issue in a sense of regard, in a sense of compassion, in a sense of love.